We are live.
We are. For now.
Welcome. Yeah. Welcome to the iWords and Upwards. Ruby, how are you?
Well, Ivan, in the grand scheme of things, I guess not too bad.
Yeah.
I would be definitely better if I hadn't learned about a day or two ago that I need a complete transmission replacement on my car. So that's kind of a bummer. But I just wish the universe would trust me that if I were to be able to become a billionaire, like if
Yeah.
stuff like this would stop happening at times when my funds aren't the greatest, that I could prove that I would be the one billionaire to
Yeah.
have a good conscience and heart and give my billions away. But not today. Today is not the day where I will be given that chance.
I
And
trust me, I
the
hear you.
limited supply of my particular transmission is making it double the price it normally would be. But hey, it's definitely better than buying a new car, at least in our economy right now.
What
In our
kind of
market.
what kind of car you got?
I've got a Ford Fusion, but it is a
Okay.
hybrid. So
Yeah.
if I had one that wasn't, plenty
Yeah.
of, it's not even that I need a new transmission. I need a
Yeah.
piece that doesn't
Ah,
exist anymore. And without that
excellent.
piece, you have to buy the whole thing. But anyway, at least I
Well,
was proactive about it, found out about it in an inspection I asked for, versus finding out stranded on a highway or something more,
true.
problematic or dangerous. So just like, I don't, why would I need money? What would I spend it on?
Um,
Just take it from me.
look, it's not. I mean, I'm not sure if it's gonna make you feel better, but compared to what's going on with our brothers and sisters in Ukraine,
Oh, of
this is
course. Of
very
course.
little. Like every time something bad
No.
happens to me nowadays, or any kind of challenges I got, I always think about
Yeah.
my people in Ukraine, and yeah, it's
Mhm.
just yeah, everything is
100%.
in the perspective. Yeah,
Hmm.
so yeah, but
What about you? How's your skipper's course?
skipper's course is going. It's very full on. There's a lot of information, a lot of things we do. Very interesting. I enjoy it a lot, and yeah, keeps me stimulated in many ways.
Hmm.
And yeah, just home for a couple of days over the weekend, and then I will be going back. A couple of weeks left, so yeah, all the assessments are coming up, and yeah, all the good stuff. So exciting.
So how far away from home is the course, like in
Uh,
miles or hours for
oh,
travel?
just over 100 miles.
Okay.
Um, so, but it's not like I guess I have to clarify um, for you and Americans watching, it's not a straight road like in New
Well,
Zealand. It's
in
it's all
Kansas, once you get on the highway, everything's pretty flat and straight.
yeah. Here it's all along alpine roads and serpentines and windy. So you don't just get on the road. And most of the days I have to. Well, actually, pretty much all of the days I drive in the morning and then I come back in the afternoon.
Mm.
So yeah, I spend about 4 hours in the car every day, morning and afternoon.
What?
So yeah, yeah. But because I still have a job to do, a business to run, and there's still family, so I can't just push it all on my wife and to
Well,
still come back
may
and do
may
stuff.
I
So,
wish all the best to your transmission for
mm,
the continued rest of your course.
thank you, and hopefully your transmission will get
I know, right?
sorted
Like,
out.
all the other points are great. That's the other thing. There was really
Yeah,
nothing else wrong other than I'm kind of due for tires at some point that have aged out. They haven't lost tread, but they're just that old. So I feel very grateful from that standpoint. And apparently, it's a car that can last a while. But yeah, something I have had work where I would commute, 1 hour each way,
hmm
regularly. To do a 2 hour one is woof.
yeah.
It starts to get to your back, to your
I
other things, but
yeah
I didn't
yeah
have the same obligations that you do, and it's a finite
yeah.
period of time.
It is. It is, and I think it's all make it worthwhile because I know why I'm doing it and what I'm doing it
Mhm.
for. So that's all
Well,
right.
it's an investment in yourself and your business future.
That's right.
So, but
That's
I mean,
right.
it's
Yeah.
also cool that you're able to enjoy it. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
as opposed to
No,
something tedious that, so many of us in our professional lives have had to endure, to have something that you need to do, but also, is very
yeah,
compatible for you, I think is great.
yeah, yeah. Look, I can't complain. It's everything takes a bit longer than we expected, and there are a few hiccups in the road. But look, good things take time, and little by little we'll get there.
Progress.
Yep. Oh, somebody had joined. Welcome to that.
Woo!
Yeah.
Hello, person.
Hello,
Well,
yeah.
I finally got around, as I was mentioning to you, to seeing the entire episode of you and Alex. I
Yeah.
thought it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and well done. Don't think you got as many comments given the time that it was aired
Yes.
versus when we sometimes stream, when I'm awake.
Mhm.
But I thought you guys had terrific chemistry, and I really appreciated a number of the topics you guys touched on. And so I certainly hope that at some point, Alex, even if he doesn't have a subsequent iconic meet cute with a Wrexham star, that
Yeah.
he seems to have plenty to be able to contribute and share on the discussion. So that was really great to see you two be able to talk in a more technical way than I'm able to contribute. That was awesome.
Look, we're old friends. We're good old friends, and we're kind of a lot of the things that we say and do and discuss. We talk about a lot when every time we catch up. So it's just the dynamics of what we do with you weekly or fortnightly is just different to what we have going on with Alex, mainly because it's uh, we have different sort of timelines behind us. That's
Sure,
it.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, and also it was really fun to have someone who actually is a Wrexham fan. When we had, was it Louis on?
Mhm.
He didn't actually have an investment, an emotional investment in the team, and was, obviously quite objective. But so to have Alex be so knowledgeable in, the player names and everything was really fun for
Yeah.
me to hear paired up with
Yeah.
you in a discussion.
Yeah, no, and it was great to hear the story, and yeah, he has only good things to say about Ben Foster and how they had a good chat, and yeah, he couldn't share some things, I guess, just
Sure.
to keep it decent, but he said everything was just very very pleasant and great, and I saw Ben Foster's um, daily log from Queenstown and Wanaka, and it was quite cool to see, my neck of the woods and
Yeah.
familiar
Uh-huh.
locations. Yeah, it was cool,
That's
and he
awesome.
definitely he said that he wants to come back, and he's a
Yep.
avid golfer, and there's just so many outstanding, amazing, most beautiful golf courses around here that you can spend years and you're still not going to be able to play all of them.
Honestly, any person that I've met that's been to your area wants to go back. Like cannot wait to go back if they possibly can. So it is a place of really what sounds like, year round of tremendous natural beauty, but also of pretty much any kind of activity that you might be interested in participating in, from the more, outdoorsy, robust kind of physical activities to aspects of culture, or more accessible, um, I guess, low impact kind of
Yeah,
recreation. So,
yeah.
and they didn't even touch on the wine. That's just stuff to do.
It's a slippery slope and it's a dangerous road, but again,
Mhm.
the wineries here are amazing. There are so many of them. They're everywhere. You don't have to travel far. The varieties, the climate, the history of the wine here. Yeah, I worked at the wineries here for a while, so I know a little bit about wine.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's a whole different world, but it's just so it's amazing, really. And like I traveled, I'm not like I'm quite well traveled. Haven't been all around the world, but enough. But the reason why we kind of stopped traveling is because every time we would go somewhere, be it Asia, Central East Asia, Europe, or Americas, or islands. We visited a lot of the Pacific islands that we have here next door. We would always, after a couple of days, we're like, we got it all in New Zealand, but better. Like literally, like
Wow.
you look around, it's like and then we just realized, like we just, like, why are we even spending money and time on, flights? Let's just travel domestically around New Zealand, because we literally have it all here. And the best place, we traveled all around New Zealand many times, top to bottom, left to right, north south, and we can confidently say that Central Otago, Queenstown Lakes district is the best. It's just, yes, it's tough, it's expensive, there's quite a lot of tourism and tourists, and quite often they do all sorts of very stupid things, and they can be
Oh,
quite
I thought you were going to
dangerous.
say like culturally sensitive and wise decision
Yeah,
making that make their
no,
home
no.
countries proud. No, oh,
They
shocker.
well,
As an
well, they
American, I am shocked.
well, people have their travel brain on, which is people, yeah, and they do all sorts of things, and unfortunately often it ends with quite a significant amount of damage, and some we do have a lot of lethal situations here, and the mortality amongst tourists can be quite high depending on what they do. But again, it usually comes down to natural selection, or a very unfortunate set of circumstance. Yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
on that note,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
going to point out that maybe it's not so different than from Lord of the Rings, because that is, of course, most of the iconic views that I'm familiar with from your country being highlighted. And I can imagine that even if those are other locations, that the variety on such a relatively small patch of land would fulfill so many needs for, if
Mm,
not just recreation, but throughout the year and the seasons changing. I can
mm,
imagine, just from what I've seen secondhand, that
yeah.
yeah, I could imagine that is a place on the planet where you go, why leave? Oh, I don't have that, but gosh, I believe it's
I
real nice.
honestly, I honestly hope to see you here one day, because I think
Same,
you're gonna love it.
same. Well,
Um,
shall I go to my points from your previous episode, or how would
yeah,
you like to
yeah.
start today?
No, let's start with that. That's a good segue. So
Okay.
let's
Well,
get that
for
done.
the folks who are tuning in, I don't know how long my voice is going to hold up. We are having a little bit of haze here in Kansas from some Canadian wildfires. We're also having completely unseasonable, gorgeous, cool weather. So in the
Hmm.
70s Fahrenheit, which is absolutely unheard of. We're usually in the high 90s in
Yeah,
August this time of year. So certainly our thoughts with the folks in Canada who are much closer to that, and being, plagued closer to the border with worse haze or smoke conditions. But we'll see. We'll see how
absolutely.
my voice holds up. All right. So a few things that are kind of chronological from when I was listening to your episode with Alex
Hmm.
was, first of all, you talking about you skating on your broken ankle. And you
Hmm.
said, see, here's something along the lines of, see, it can be done. You can do it. One, let's point out, you are not a normal human and not normal humans. Plus, also, you would have had on your skating boot. So, like, that structure versus a football boot might help. Though, there's probably some psycho footballer out there that, like, compound fractured an ankle and still went on the pitch and figured it out. But just clarifying for those, because you were just like, it can be done. Nah, yeah, by you.
it it was more of a it was more of a joke. Like yeah. Don't.
Sometimes, and I know you pretty well, that it didn't come off as clearly as a joke as when you do actually joke, because it is blended with your truth. So anyway, I thought that was it, but not as much as I laughed out loud when you said a lot of kids were sold. Because I swear to God, I thought you said
Ah,
KIDS,
kids.
like children, and you
Yeah.
kept rolling without a beat. And I went, okay, from context. people know he meant kids with a T. And I'm like, I was here talking about the sale of children.
Just
But clearly not. Clearly not.
part-time
And Alex,
part-time human trafficker. Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. And like, yeah,
Yeah.
the newest ones that are out and what the designs. So that one actually made me like actually laugh out loud and have to stop and write down. I'm like, I should write down the things I want to bring up to him that was not on
Yeah.
there. I thought that it was interesting when Alex brought up the Marriott's injury. And I thought that it was interesting. Obviously, you've been very clear and passionate about it for quite some time, given the other issues attached with the decision making affiliated with that. And I thought it was really refreshing to have someone, just matter of factly, from a very objective standpoint, share what was the same take from that it's not just you here beating on the drum of, what Ivan thinks is standard coaching, decision making best practices. But we have this other person who we now know is a Wrexham fan. That was also great seeing Alex's enthusiasm for the team, as opposed to, like we mentioned before with Louis, not necessarily having so much invested as an outside observer. I thought that was interesting because it's not something I've heard anywhere else. And so to hear it from someone spontaneously volunteered was very validating, I thought, to what you've been saying for quite some time. And
we haven't spoken about it in advance, and to be honest, we never really discussed this situation.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is, again, and I keep on repeating that, is that how conveniently everybody just shut up about it. Like when it happened, it was just complete hush hush. To me, I remember back in the day, I was online talking about it, and people were just like looking at one another like, no, don't say anything. Like, it's okay, like it's all right. And by this day, it's just like, nope, we don't discuss that. Like they just
we don't talk about Bruno, the song. We don't talk about Bruno from the Disney movie. But and I think that might speak a little more about why it wasn't discussed more. Maybe perhaps that cultural understanding within football of, that was a bad call, but not wanting to give voice to it for seeming disloyal or something like that. But then we get to what I had said to you in a phone call, and I can thank Matt from Racecourse Ramble for setting me straight, because he was the one I initially mentioned about it. But when Kakache joined and I saw his initial interview, and the interviewer asked him about his time in Syria, and I'm like, whoa, Syria has a lot of other shit going on, but they have a football league that's it. And then with his accent, when Kakache responded, I thought he said Cilia. And I'm like, what is the Cilia thing? And I went online and even Googled, and like nothing was clicking to the sounds before, as you also shared with me that it was Serie A or Serie A, and then like Series A. And I'm like,
Syria A or Syria A.
Pronunciation, or enunciation can change things, like kid and kits. So I'm like, man, I don't see anything in his history about playing in Syria. And also a reflection of my ignorance of being a new fan and relatively new to football, that these other realms that get mentioned, perhaps this wasn't what I'd stumbled across, like some of the cups or other things. That was I'm sure an entertaining moment when I shared it with Matt, as it was for you.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely, yes.
When you talked about late transfers, I know Syria FC, not funny. It's like kind of not funny. It's just like, but I thought there were a lot of reasons why I hadn't heard about it. Oh man. So I'm just gonna move on from that. You talked about late transfers versus early transfers, something that I have heard discussed, not with a whole lot of anxiety myself.
It's still happening. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And obviously, we've had some additions since you broadcast with Alex. But I hadn't, other than generally thinking more time with the team earlier is probably better. But since I've only been around a short period of time and we just haven't ever operated that way, and, here we are through, multiple promotions, I didn't give it much thought. I assumed other places had as much erratic kind of last minute wheeling and dealing as options came by. So to hear you guys frame it in a way, and especially when you said, well, there's not anything they actually have to learn that they have to incorporate and onboard, was very enlightening to me. That as far as best practices, if you are, building towards the future or who you're going to pick, I think the term you used was for some of the new hires that came down, or new signings that came down from relegated teams, was a survival squad or something like that. And I thought about it was just a completely different way of thinking things as far as a mentality of what are we bringing on board, what the impact is, and something I had not given, I didn't know to interpret that way. I didn't know to think about that way. I thought was really helpful to someone like me to create a context of early, late, what does it matter? We get cool memes out of it, like a full moon and stuff like that's now Wrexham touching points for culture and reference. So I found that one really helpful. Okay, so we're gonna round out to this later, but I thought it was helpful that in the first part of the clip before your phone went out, that Alex made some allowance for the possibility of Parky evolving his tactics. Yeah, there were a few times when Alex had a distinctly different observation of the same scenario that you did. And which is something I have said too, pretty much from the beginning, was that, hey, we don't know for sure what Parky's going to do, in the sense that the future isn't written yet, and he could be growing as the club grows. I less and less consider the percentages of that becoming real, but it was nice to have someone who's so much more informed than me, who was making the allowance of, okay, there's a chance that this guy is now in a new set of circumstances he's never been in before, and maybe he'll play ball in a smarter way. So that was validating. Hold on, we'll get back to that. We're going to circle back to your second video when he comes around. It was very much, an arc of a story that, very circular in the way that it came back to the beginning and wrapped itself up. Let's see. Oh, when he talked about, or both of you spoke about, the championship being full of these ex-Premier players, I think that was another helpful way to phrase it for someone like myself who doesn't really care about football, doesn't follow it other than Wrexham and now Wales. Because as I've said before on this podcast, I think, maybe it was another one, it can be difficult, I think, especially for newer fans who are also new to football, to be told every damn year, oh, this league is going to be tougher. This league is tougher than the league before. Because we've been told that every time, and we don't have a scale to reference how exponentially, especially if League One happened to be weak that year, using the same words to convey that this is going to be a tougher slog. I can see on a back-to-back-to-back promotion, newer fans saying, well, but you said that the last 3 times, and here we are. So to phrase it as entire teams, entire squads being full of ex-Premier players, who might have been as recently ex-Premier as last season, was really helpful to me. And you guys talking about the longevity of some teams that remain in the championship to maintain that status, that quality, that same level of play, was, for me, more helpful, because I haven't watched any of these tiers of football until we're in them. And while I believe that this is going to be a bigger jump in what I can see, again, when you don't have the background and you're hearing the same words, I thought that having that explained in a way of, the people from the Premier just happen to be playing in this league until they can get back up, really blurs the level of quality between the two, and that scary level good.
Absolutely.
So okay.
Sorry, one more person joined. Welcome. Whoever that might be. So we're not just
maybe we showed up on someone's just for you page or recommended algorithm. Okay. So we talked about survival squad. All right. Another thing on terminology. I don't know that I heard you say situational thinking before. Now, you did touch on later tactical versus operational versus strategic, though I don't think that was necessarily clarified for people who don't have a military background as to what those different stages represent in a battlefield or in a work organization. But I liked that you brought up situational thinking for what had been observed on the field of play. Because to me, I guess I think of it more as reactive or from what I see, but to have that term, I think still gives credit to some players of being engaged in the moment and on the field with the play. But certainly the way that you were speaking about it showed that it had limitations and wasn't ideal best practice for the kind of mindset or decision-making you want players to have on the pitch. And you could choose to expand upon that a little bit later. I think I only have one or two more things left. Okay,
No worries.
another relevation, the friendlies. When we had injuries like Mules's rib cage or things like that, I knew that there were some concerns about friendlies. We knew from how tired they were not to fly them back and forth across the continent unnecessarily multiple times. I had not given consideration to how I hadn't given as much consideration as to how much that impacts the beginning of the season. Obviously, we've lost Ollie. I've heard a rumor for up to 8 weeks. I don't know what's official on that. But combined with your perspective of, well, if they sign on late with Parky Ball, it's not a huge hindrance from a tactical, perspective for the player making that transition. But I wanted to ask, who decides what friendlies and when the friendlies are? We're told from the Fozcast with Sean, it sounds like, a lot of power is given to Parky to make calls on who to sign. I mean, does that extend to how late we play in a season or preseason, I guess?
You mean who to sign in course of players?
No, I mean, who decides that we're playing friendlies a week before our season starter?
Well, that playing a friendly before a season starter, even it's a few days, it's absolutely fine. That's not it's not an unheard of thing. To be honest, it's a good thing. Even if you can play a friendly 3-4 days before the season starts, it still can be a good thing. It just depends on who you play, because the squad is quite large, so that's not a problem. The problem this year is that because Wrexham became more than just a normal football team, it's a marketing engine. So they had to organize this down under tour, which was a very much a success from one standpoint and a complete failure from another standpoint. So the people who were in charge of merch, promotion and whatnot, they did a very good job, and I think they can write it down in their books as a success. But from the footballing standpoint, an absolute disaster. And but again, nobody says anything about it openly, or they just there is a couple of murmurs here and there. But look, at the end of the day, preseason is a preseason. It's all about conditioning and getting fit. The other, but what is a worrying sign is that there is no palpable, visible, logical shift in the approach to the philosophy of the game, and
which
that
comes to my second to last point of having Alex give you like a little bit of pushback in the beginning of your episode on his observations and what might have been like optimism or benefit of the doubt for what could be expected to when you're watching the match live. And he has come full circle to your side of like, oh yeah, no, this is worrisome. You used the term, and if you've shared this with me before, please forgive me, I'd forgotten. But you used the term positive approach as I guess towards advancing on the goal. What is positive approach? Because it didn't sound like positive versus negative. Like, what does that mean?
Positive approach. It can mean not a lot, but it can mean a few things. If you're talking about positive approach and incursion into the opposition top third, into the top third of the pitch, or the opposition third, is that kind of approach that is planned, B, replicable, C, developable.
Okay.
So basically, it's not a 50-50 ball. So
Okay.
it's something that can be replicated literally on demand.
Mm.
So, in a nutshell, long story short, we don't do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously. For me, it was just
Yeah.
because the word positive can be, so many different frameworks that I was like, well, I mean, I really don't think Ivan is like, yay, happy positive. So I wasn't sure if it was versus like a negative as for losing space or something like that.
Hmm.
But it wasn't
Hmm.
a term I remember hearing much. And then so just as my last thing, I haven't actually watched the preseason matches down under,
Good.
but I
That's
learned
good.
today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I understand that I might have spared myself some things, but I do
Yeah.
think that still they have a lot of merit for folks who just want to see folks moving around on the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just learned today on Blue Sky, and I forget who posted it that I reshared it. There is an hour and a half AAA from the club
Hmm.
about the Down Under tour,
Hmm.
so I did
Hmm.
get a few minutes of that in.
Yeah.
Before today, but or before our episode today. So I plan to go back and see. Obviously, it's not necessarily going to be in depth anything else, but there are little dynamics that sometimes happen that I find a little bit telling about
Yeah.
either mindset or chemistry within the club versus
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
on the pitch. So okay, those were all my notes. Thank you for your patience
No, it's great. Thank
on
you so
that.
much for making those notes. And yeah, it was a lot of fun filming that. And I think that it was a very informal circumstance, but at the same time, we have touched upon a few topics. And Alex managed to support the conversation. And I guess to be honest, I think his point of view on development and tactics was there also for a bit of a catalyst to the actual conversation. So he does understand the limitations, and he's not a happy clapper by no means. And that again that segues us to the next episode that I think we should talk about, keeping in mind and uh, taking a note of the amount of signings that we have completed, so be it late, but very good level players. And there is more coming, from what I understand. And please, to those who are watching, just remember that the only sources I subscribe to right now is the official Wrexham social media, and a couple of people from Wrexham text me every now and then. So I do have a couple more connections within the football world that I get in touch with every now and then, but I do not like uh, if I say something that has been said before or on other podcasts or whatever things people do, I don't know about it. So
Yeah.
I say what I say and what is said out there. I have no desire and no time to follow everything and everybody.
Well, no, you're spending 4 hours a day driving.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. And
that's primo podcast time. What are you doing? Making business calls or something?
exactly. I thought about it. Maybe I should just turn the camera on and just, talk
No,
about
don't do
things
that. Don't
while
do
I'm
that. Don't
driving.
do
Yeah. But the connection is very sketchy too, because again, it's all
that.
alpine situations. But
I hope you two pair
looking
up again. It was really great, especially maybe as the season progresses, to have
ooh,
some intermittent. I'd really especially like to see how some of the statements he's made preseason
mm, mhm,
change for him, because I mean you're pretty
yeah,
consistent on what your message and expectations are, but as someone with a little bit different take, though also technically
yeah,
knowledgeable, I would really like to have a progression of Alex's observations as the season goes on. That I think that'd be
yeah,
very interesting.
absolutely. We will be talking about it more. And
And intermission.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the
That was
playing.
awesome.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So signings, new
Hmm.
people in the team. I Every time I would see a post about a new signing, I go into the comments just to see, because some people that are commenting I kind of know, but more and more I started noticing, especially after first couple of signings, is that uh, we're going up back to back to back to back playoffs, Premier
Really?
League. Here we come, and it's just at first I thought people were joking. Like I honestly thought that they're like, okay, well they're happy. And look, I get it. Nowadays, the way the team looks, probably the best Wrexham team ever. Like, and I understand for a long time Wrexham locals and supporters, this is incredible. Like what they have on the team
Well,
right
and
now,
momentum, you know,
and momentum. But
and the fact
seriously,
that everyone's told using the same words, this league is really hard. The words are the same, and not everyone has the appreciation for, the context of what that means.
looking at the comments, one signing, another signing, and people are seriously talking about, maybe not this year, the next year, and they getting like completely, well, sold on the idea that we are going to be fighting for promotion,
With
and which
Parky,
is good, like with Parky. And look, it's a
like
good
that's an
it's a
important
good
distinction.
idea. It's a good approach for a team, and that's what everybody should be doing who's engaging into any sort of professional activity, is that you in there to win it, right? So you don't plan to get relegated at the end of the season or get a glorious 14th place or something like that. I'm not talking about that, but at the same time, let's not get delusional.
Mhm.
And you still need to be, even if you're planning to win, you still need to be quite pragmatic. Okay,
Well, and because
optimism
your
is
chances of achieving the best results, I would proffer, you have to have some true
realism.
sense of the reality of the situation to be able to take the best advantage of it and serve it to your own purposes. If you have more of an inflated sense of your capabilities or underestimate your opponent, something, I could see how that would very quickly be a recipe for disaster
Yeah,
versus a healthy balance between what you're striving for and an awareness and acceptance of where you currently stand on a day-to-day basis, potentially.
absolutely. And well, Scott, I think that was you who was watching all this time. Welcome, and very good comment there. That was, you literally pretty much stole my next line, is that if you look at the players that we have signed,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the majority of the teams in the championship, everybody has, almost every single team has their Lewis O'Brien. Every
Mm-hmm.
single team has their version of Windass. Every single team has their version of Kakache. Every single team has the version of this and that and the other. Who we signed are solid, good players, but they are not superior currently to
For this
most
level.
of the other teams. They are good players, and that's what I said before, is that now you have, and again, I'm going to be jumping all over the place a little bit here, but um, I yesterday, Wrexham AFC official YouTube channel and other channels uploaded Parkinson's interview. It was before the friendlies in Holland that just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I looked at him and the way he was talking. And at first I was like, he's a little bit nervous. I understand that. He's a little bit, tense. But then the more he kept on talking, the more I realized that he's scared shitless. He is, like, you look at his micromotorics, at his mimics, the way his eyes move. Like I know when people are scared. I have faced fear myself a lot, and I know I've been through some very hairy situations, and I know what fear is and what people look like when he is scared.
The
And
moment
that's
we got
what
promoted, I saw it too, because there was no jubilation on his face. And I watched him for quite some time in the after when, like he looked
yeah, like,
worried, and
no,
instantly he was thinking about this
I
season.
I would like to make a distinction. No jubilation, worrisome face, serious mask. That's good. That's what you need to be. You want to be that. You want to be worried to a good level. He is scared. That is not worry. That is not that is not a face of somebody who's deep in their thoughts and he's just processing. He is panicking, and I look at it and I see the
What
now
do you
like
think could be triggering that external manifestation? What do you think could be?
he and then the words that he started using, asking himself questions before the reporter does, and backstepping on his answers. Like, yeah, we had a good preseason, but not really. It's not really a good preseason. It can't be perfect, but yeah, no, we achieved the goals, but no, goals are not actually achieved. So it was like literally
Whoa.
within split seconds. He like listened to it, and the longer the interview went on, the more I was like, well, now I see why the players are coming in thick and fast, and people are also saying is that there was a lot of players coming into the midfield, and we already have. And I said it at the end of last season that the players that we had who were promoted and who won the promotion, you're not going to see them again. And from what I can see, there will be maybe 2-3 players left on the pitch, if that, from the last season, which is holistically, it's not a good thing. You should be keeping the core of the team. We're doing a wholesale change. He's bringing packs and packs of new players,
See, I was
and
going to
I
say, it
think
feels like we have more new signings than we did
we have a
last
brand new
season at
team.
this time.
We have a
But
brand new team.
I haven't paid that close attention, but it is certainly at the point where I'm going to have trouble keeping all the new names straight because there's, I guess, enough of them, and if we're going to have more, but it was really only, I think, the last few days that I went, man, I haven't compared. I don't know if there's a standard number of signings that people do every season, and obviously we have the January window as well. But I was like, man, it feels like a lot of people. But maybe just because they're coming they're normally more spaced out, and this time
There will be more coming. There will be more
wow.
coming. And a lot of like I see again those comments are like, we have so many midfielders, and people start like confusing tactical terms and formations and systems. It's just, especially the ones who are broadcasting and trying to educate other people on football, and they just, the things that they say, and I just sit there like, guys, come on, just do a little bit of a read up, like take a basic course. Stop saying these things, and because it's just, or at least make a disclaimer that you don't know things about football at all. Like, you just stop talking with the face of a professional expert. You like, it's going to be like, it's getting to the point where you just like, do you really think that everybody who watches you are that stupid? Like, do you think that people who watch you, nobody actually studied football and like did courses and coached, and not even that, like, just because you're playing Football Manager doesn't, like, you have to start, at least if you're going to be spending years of your life doing it, get an understanding of what's A, what's B, what's C.
Well, Ivan, I just have to say, as someone who has, trimmed my own fingernails for the majority of my life, technically that is surgery. So if there were a situation where invasion into the body for life-saving measures were required, I feel that qualifies me to jump in and give it my best, and I'm sure it'll turn out just fine.
Yeah, no, it will, but it won't. To again kind of dumb it all out, dumb it all down, and answer in a nutshell. The reason why we are bringing in players and packs right now, and we have so many midfielders, including the previous year squad who will largely be made redundant, is because we know that approach to the way the team plays will not change. And what Parkinson is doing right now, he's planning for injuries. I bet that within a month, 4 to 6 weeks, we'll have 2 to 3 major injuries, and that you can bet good money, good money on that. So what is happening right now? The amount of players coming in, they are brought in as expendables. They're good, again, they're good players, good level, but
Sponges.
you have to remember that the way we play promotes injuries on and off the field. And it's not a coincidence anymore. Like you can, even if you did not think much of it at first, now it's very evident. So
But we
basically,
still
what
seem
we
heavy though, Ivan. Like we have all these people coming in, but we don't seem to have equal number going out. Now, granted, for me, the one that's most notable is Palmer, for contribution versus not. So what is, for someone like myself, can you refresh me on, is there a deadline? Do we have a maximum number, or do we just have to declare? Can we have 50 guys
there
and
is
we
a,
only have to declare 20?
you
Or
can have hundreds of guys, hundreds of players. You just don't register them, and they not on your books.
no.
But you have to wait to the next transfer window and whatnot. But it's obviously it's not good practice for business side of things and everything else, because you have to upkeep everybody. They will send people out as much as. But the thing is that you can see that
Well, now we have
um,
a stable for the injuries.
we're the other clubs
Oh, no.
don't really want to take the players from the squad too much, and they will still find some, but I can see that they have problems finding options for people, for players, is because a
After
lot
their
of
time
them.
at Wrexham is up.
Hmm. Hmm.
Why?
And well, a lot of them just don't play at all. Like
Mm.
because
So
there is
they
no
haven't been
rotation.
on the pitch the whole season to
Yeah,
be fresh.
yeah,
Oh.
and they all are now they all deemed to be injury prone as well. So
Mm.
the best they can hope for is maybe a loan with a further option to be brought in on a permanent. The
So we could see a pattern where they struggle to get put with maybe the best fit of a team for them, but maybe the season after or halfway through whatever season they're paired with someone, maybe after they have had more time on the pitch, we could see them advance further in their potential than their
Yeah,
first transfer. Okay.
complete lack of rotation. So if over 3 years right now, same people are being played into the ground, and the other guys are being played for the last 5 minutes of the
When we
second
have a
half.
limitless stable, or can you only pick from the registered ones?
What it does is that it ruins your statistics as a football player, which I don't believe in statistics too much. But when you look at the appearances and they are in the hundreds and your contributions are minimum, for you as a player, it doesn't look that great. So
Well, is
there is
that
a
a
lot of.
factor when other teams come
Yeah,
looking?
absolutely,
They
absolutely,
line it
yeah.
up. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, it is a factor. It is a factor. It's not maybe not the one and only factor, but it's true. And Scott is saying that the squad of
Well,
25 has to be named after the first transfer window closes, which is 1st of September. Yes, yes, but you can still keep players at the club. You just don't name them on the squad, and I think that's what, unless
but like
Palmer
if one of the
Palmer is
25,
sent away. Hmm?
but I
Yeah,
guess if one of the 25 though has, like, say, like had a season-ending injury, do
yeah.
we only get to pull from the 25, or do we promote someone from our stable into the 25 as a replacement
Now you work with the 25 you selected. There are
until
some uh,
January?
until the next one.
Oh no.
So there are
Oh,
some exceptions, I think, for goalkeepers and younger players, but I'm not sure. I think in championship it still applies. But usually 25 is more than enough.
well, not for
25 is
us.
plenty.
Not
No,
for
it will be.
us.
It will be. It will just diminish the depth, which is not used anyway. But yeah, what I mean is that you have to factor in this um, major situation of high injury rate. So people who are coming in, they coming in as a literally ammunition for the magazine. Like what's and like I
They sound more like
yeah,
sponges for the magazine, Ivan.
yeah, yeah. Remember bullet catchers. Yeah, remember remember these words is that within the first 4 to 6 weeks there will be 2 or 3 major injuries, guaranteed. Like unfortunately, as sucky as it is, that's what's going to happen. Um, and yeah, the way the team plays has a lot to do with injuries, a lot. And there's been
Well, I
studies
heard
on
you
that
talking about the
done.
aggressive defensive in your conversation with Alex. I had some other,
The more
perspectives on
chaotic,
illustrate that.
the more chaotic you play, again, I'm simplifying things. The more chaotic you play, the more you rely on second ball wins and causing 50-50s, the more injuries you're going to pick up. The more settled, the more structured, and the more pattern-like your game is, the less physical contact is required to win the ball. The more you are, the more you are as a player required to play positionally correct.
Mm.
And another thing is that a lot of people talk about possession football. And again, everybody says that it's a buzzword around all the podcasts and whatnot. Possession football is not about people having ball at their feet. And I feel really stupid explaining this right now because people who actually understand a thing or two about football will like, okay, shut up about it. Water is wet, sun is hot. Like that's what I'm saying right now. But it's literally like, and that's why it drives me nuts listening to the experts.
I'm gonna knock over my screen. Shit. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, possession football is about
Oh.
playing correctly and playing according to a certain design and certain number of systems without the ball.
Mm.
Your actions as a team without the ball determines your possession, not the person carrying the ball. And
Mm.
that is, well, if you don't have options, you can't progress with the ball. That's as simple as that. So when people again talking about we bring these players, they are creative. Team
The
doesn't
creative
become
word, creativity.
team,
That one
team
gets
does
me.
not become creative just because now you have number of define a creative player.
It
If
makes me
you're
go back to here, like do it what faster, better, harder. Oh, I do the
do
stupid or what, but with more energy and
do
like
stupid things faster with more
coach
energy. Yeah,
yourself. Coach yourself. Come up with an idea
come
that
up
you haven't
with come
been
up
taught.
with something. Yeah,
You again back for me. It's the again
be
you don't
better,
rise to the
play better.
occasion.
Yeah,
You don't rise to the occasion. You revert to your level of training. When you have a platform of training that you are confident in, that is second nature, that frees up space for more connections or different kinds of decision making. Versus I got to go in and
you
on the you're already behind in the
you
OODA loop. You see what's happening in front of you, and then you make a
Do you want
decision.
me to go a little bit deeper into this because we can be here for a couple of hours? Like I can
Okay,
get
well, we
going,
shouldn't do it for a couple hours, but if you want to
but
illustrate one particular point,
um, so again,
we're not going to be able to explain
let's.
away the situation
I
with
might have
perception with the
to.
fans
I
or
might
the
have to
club.
come back online and just maybe go through a few things, maybe in monologue style, just because
Yeah, well,
there
we
is
love a
quite a
nice
lot of
monologue.
things that I can develop on. Just because um, you need to say certain things and make them straight so that people have left and right of arc,
Well,
especially
sure, and the start of a new season
maybe
is a great time.
maybe it will clear out lifelong time confusion for a lot of football supporters. But um, the way, and we have full reasons to believe that the way we're gonna play is not gonna change at all. If anything, I can tell you guys that if you thought that our last couple of seasons we played ugly football, stand by, because this year is going to be on freaking steroids. The higher the class and tactical and operational preparedness of your opposition is, the uglier Hoofball looks in comparison.
Okay. So it's
Okay,
not just
so
that it is uglier, it's just that we have this, reflection of what is supposed to be more common or beautiful, sexy football, which is apparently what we get to as we go up the leagues is sexy football
and now
versus
the buzzword,
us,
yeah.
kind of gutting through it or whatever.
Okay,
Mm.
championship play 40 plus games, right? Each team. The video and computer and currently today world AI generated analysis and models are a given. And some teams are a lot better than the other, especially the ones with ex Premier League history or high intelligence capabilities. A one dimensional football, chaotic football, becomes extremely easy to scout and nullify, especially with higher grade players who can take spaces away from the other teams. There are a number of people at every club, especially if the coach is a modern thinking coach, who do exactly that. They analyze not only the way the team is playing, but the way they are training, the way players are giving interviews, the way coaches are giving interviews, and they look at the historical progression. And you don't have to be a genius to look at Parkinson's history and track his teams and the way they played over the last 10, 15 years. The more risk you run of losing a ball through playing long ball, through playing primitive vertical style, not using half spaces.
And you mean having it poached from you, not just losing it on an error?
Both, really, but yes. Successful smart trigger pressing comes into play, but every time we send a long ball, try to overcome the press, you run a risk of losing the ball, which we've been doing it for years now. We bypass the midfield, deliver quick ball up front. Hopefully you'll win it there. If you don't, we can try and cause a turnover in the neutral zone.
Is it universal, like that distance in football? Is it universal that the potential for a play going other than you wished grows the further the ball is from player A to player B?
No, nothing in football is universal per se,
Okay.
but there is a correlation between if your systems are not designed for positive possession across the pitch and especially higher up the pitch, you will be sending the ball away with less touches more often and further to keep yourself safe. Because it is, in the end of the day, it is easier to defend. From military perspective, we know that defend to attack is 3-1, right? Or the other way around. Same applies to basic football principles. But basically, the more long balls you play, the more you lose the ball. Unless you have elite, and I highlight elite target man and second ball winners, that practice becomes very dangerous. That's why when we got promoted from the National League, every player we had on the pitch was superior to every other player in that league. Same for League 2. In League 1, when the problem started, and I said in January, 3, 4, 5 very expensive, very good players need to come in order to get promoted from already quite a weak league. And that's exactly what happened. So we don't have the superiority anymore. We have an average one. So sorry, I'm just
Sure.
the longer you kick the ball, the longer you're not in control of the ball. Absolutely.
Fair
Fine.
point.
It's when the ball is in the air, nobody really controls it, and then it becomes a matter of, look, long ball can be played smartly too, and that's we had it going on back when Italy was giving everybody a lesson on how to play tight defense and then deliver quick balls. But execution, pre-planning, long ball requires quite often more planning on operational level than a short ball, just because your margin is from mistake is so much greater. So yeah, but that's a very, very good point, Scott. So
the approach itself isn't necessarily problematic. It's its implementation and who it is that's trying to make it happen and who's directing it.
Yeah, exactly. Combination of things and repetitiveness of the same. So it's
Yeah,
that
because
same
the only
thing again.
you
If
have
it's the only thing you do, doesn't matter how smart that thing is at the first place, you get figured out. You cannot be doing the same thing over and over again unless, just like I said, you have elite players who are times better than the opposition. And that's how Parkinson got his success so far. And a lot of luck. Some of the luck is unreal. But the problem with luck, it always balances out. It comes back. So that's one of those
and it's
things.
not replicable.
It's not replicable whatsoever. So developing some, just trying to catch my thought. Direct styles of play tend to correlate with less possession percentage.
Okay.
And therefore, you will be creating less high quality chances. Some people call them XGs. High quality chance is also it's a term that is argued a lot. To me, high quality chance doesn't necessarily lead to the moment of where you go, oh my God, oh, it's almost in. No, high quality chance is something that can be replicated on demand. That's a high
Creating
quality chance.
potential.
Creating potential, exploring and exploiting spaces. So high quality chance can happen in the neutral zone. High quality chance can happen on the flank. Doesn't necessarily have to happen close to the opposition box. It's just something that you see is working within this condition, playing in within this conditions, playing against these particular players. So everything is subjective like that, and you have to keep it all into, like, you have to keep that holistic picture in mind. In the championship, and that's why people, to answer your question, I always say it's a tough league. It's even tougher. Yes, it is true, because in the championship, the transition speed is very fast. It's brutal sometimes, especially with the team who have higher grade players. Loss of possession in the championship equals immediate counter pressure. If before, when we would lose the ball in the opposition in the opposition third or neutral zone, we were relatively safe because the teams were not counter pressing in a correct way, an applicable way straight away. Now that margin becomes smaller. The counter pressure becomes a lot more effective, a lot higher up the pitch.
Do you think that it possibly harmed us to have not had a tougher League One to experience as a primer for getting into the championship? Like, would the lessons we're about to apparently learn, though we're going to have new players, have been better served to have been introduced,
Well, look,
last
I don't
season?
think it is necessarily the biggest harm. There is a little bit of harm in that. And look, at the end of the day, we can't get promoted from the championship. You just buy a lot of really high class players, spend millions and tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, somehow get amazing players, you'll get promoted. Most likely, you have a very good chance. But that's just not going to be the case. If before in League Two, League One, National League, a little bit of money creates a big wake, and you can utilize it a lot more. Now it's a lot more blended. So that's what I was saying, is that get Parkinson everybody you possibly can, because he will need that. We don't have the genius of tactical and operational coaching anymore. We rely on players and numbers now. That's it. And by this day, I'm saying it over and over again, our goal is to survive. Like, even this team right now, which on the paper should be solid mid-table team, it only takes 3-4 bad games in a row, and it's a completely different story, which can happen. It can happen to any team. And
please go ahead.
The compliance of the players who just walked in through the door, some of them been on the radar for a while. For those, I'm quite sure they're going to be quite compliant. But with those who were signed in relatively fast, let's see what happens if you have a run of bad games and they start talking and they start voicing their opinions. That's a different thing. That's a different dynamics. That never happened before. And to those who, we know what happened to those who dared to say something, right? So you have such a multifaceted, multi-layered combination of factors now that's going to be happening in the changing room. And things can turn on their head really, really fast. And the other way too, you get around a good game and all of a sudden, so the points that separate teams from bottom of the mid-table to the playoffs is usually quite small. It's a small margin. Again, so things are flimsy, and it's a continuous balance. There is still a lot of things that we have to remember when it comes to mental state of the players. Talking about that further, physical and mental fatigue increases cumulative risks of mistakes and injuries.
Okay.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say the style that you play dictates your injuries, dictates your overall mistakes, dictates the quality of passes that you play and how positive those passes are. Even if you grind results out, the long ball ceiling is mid-table survival.
Mm.
So
Okay.
unless you start blending it in with tactical variations, and I highlight again because tactical becomes another, like, let's talk tactics, and they don't talk tactics. It's
Sorry. I was envisioning
it's
somebody else doing that.
yeah, it becomes another buzzword because when people talk tactics, they just talk shades. They talk basic. Um, uh, they talk
Fundamentals?
not fundamental. They talk names. They never touch the actual sense of the things. That they
Oh.
name the name, and they never go any deeper than that. But what they think that name means is not what it actually
Gotcha.
means.
Yes.
So you know what I mean? So like they just
Yes.
talk like basic terms, which
Well, I
they have
mean,
not agreed
you've had
on.
people say that they love you. I have too. And I've said it to them. But goddamn, I found out that that same word with 4 letters doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to them as it does to me.
Exactly.
As a universal example, this is obviously, football related. But what you had said earlier, I don't know if it's a term that already exists, but when you were
The bo-
comparing our National League to here, I've
yeah,
heard in my brain, I realized, oh, it's kind of like inflation. It's like the economics of success. So
yeah.
what we were able to achieve in the National League instead of currency, success rate versus now is I just thinking of it as success as currency is just kind of a new idea to me because it really does sound like a market. And when you
Well,
bring in other
within
elements, but
within the project of Wrexham, marketing, PR, Disney, everything else, it blended into football and it created this own unique hybrid. And it goes without saying, Robin Ryan had changed the concept of low league football and what can be done to a low league team. So we have witnessed the development of a new beast that now you see a lot of other celebrities try to replicate. So it's a new phenomenon yet to be studied, and what is going to lead to, we'll see. But I can tell you, it's a lot better than having oil sheikhs coming in and destroying a Premier League like it happened in the end of '90s, beginning of 2000s. So when you have something creative like we have right now, is far better than just throwing budgets of medium-sized countries at football clubs and creating an absolutely deathly environment for any football growth within, well, globally, really. So and from that, the talks of creating a super league appears. But I completely sidetracked. Let's get back to what I was talking about before, if I can remember. Um, so um, last thing I said was immediate counter pressure, right? Immediate counter pressure. Players, from again mental and physical fatigue standpoint, players chasing long balls, constantly fighting aerial duels, constantly regaining what's called a shape. They are subject to high physical and mental demand all the time in all areas of the pitch. That goes back to the point of when you don't have a system thinking for you and backing you up every step of the way, you have to work that extra hard to compensate for lack of the structure and lack of the system. If your players are technically superior and they physically superior, but they are stuck in a primitive way of playing, their confidence and creativity A fluctuates, B declines. That's why you need to bring in fresh blood during the season. So you cannot rotate and use your depth and use the players who are sitting on the bench. Maybe you have to bring brand new players because those people who you have on your team, they all burned out, not only physically but mentally, because it's continuous pressure. I don't have a chance to make. Everybody should be playing. Like, my mentality with sports and other things that I've done is that you should be feeling free to make mistake. If you know that you can make mistake, that's going to bring the best out of you. If you don't have that, you will burn out, because that shackles you, that stifles you, and you see that all the time. If you don't feel comfortable to make a mistake,
Mm,
something is not right.
mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds a couple things. What you're just saying sounds to me like a lot of additional pressure on a player who is having to self-coach versus a player who has been thoroughly coached to the point that they're primed and they're prepped to go out onto the field and not only do what was drilled into them, but then free up space that otherwise would have been active decision making to recognize spots and feel relaxed enough or confident enough to recognize creativity or moments. But what you were saying before about, again, decision making one, what came to my mind was, the geese or birds that fly in the V, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bird in front at the point of the V is taking all the resistance and working the
Mm-hmm.
hardest by
Mm-hmm.
foraging into uncharted air
Mm-hmm.
versus one of the birds on a wing of the V who is
Mm-hmm.
had the path determined for them and is basically drafting, to use like a car term, the first one. But also from a decision making standpoint, not just being working harder and what kind of attitude or environment or emotional state, but like physically going through and making decisions is more exhausting than knowing what your drill is, rather than just implementing your drill, having to see, recognize, and process. And again, most of what I think I've seen Wrexham do, especially last season, we get back to our OODA loop of they might see, assess, respond, but they're doing it in a reactive way,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to taking the initiative and being the first to dictate. And it's really tough, unless I guess you're maybe exemplary at defensive to win a scenario if you're second in the OODA loop. So yeah, but that flying V thing really spoke to me of, okay, if you're the first one up front, you got all that to forge. That bird's working harder. The one on the wing is not working as hard in a number of different scenarios.
That's right. Well, it's a very good comparison. And just like we were talking about it before, basic principles, they correspond from area to area, from industry to industry, from activity to activity. So that example that you just gave, that's exactly what I'm talking about. If you have a system, you have a chance to take a breath.
And sorry, I left out the most important part. They fucking rotate. The birds take turns at the front. So the one working the hardest goes to the wing, and they alternate out, which is also something we don't do.
Yeah, and Scott is right now saying that that makes sense when you look how Parky played Tozer and liked him because he always tried the pass, was never afraid to always want the ball. Yes, and we know that the entire defense of Parkinson teams, they all he wants them to do is to launch the ball forward. Okay, so and he prefers people like, for example, O'Connell over other defenders who he brings in, because O'Connell is slightly better at hitting the target far away. That's it. He can deliver that ball a bit more accurately and consistently to the person on the other side of the pitch. So and there is virtually nothing else, literally nothing else. Everything else that happens, which is not that, is an accident. That's why it's not replicable. Well, it's not me who's saying that.
That is the best example. I've heard the terms of happy accidents, right? But that seems like a really great space for me to remember that term is a happy accident in that context, because if it turns out to our benefit and is not something replicable, and again, we have luck that contributes to it and it's to our benefit, then that is awesome, for the moment.
Well, and talking about combining all that is that in the end, the bottom line, we have that if your confidence and creativity fluctuates and declines, you will experience burnout, especially within the clubs who have unsustainable styles. And what I mean is, and a lot of people start arguing is that, well, look at look at doing back to back to back to back, it's sustainable. It would be sustainable if the core of the team stays the same.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many variables. Like, there's infinite when you start even thinking down to a match to match basis within the arc of that journey. Like that's a huge generalization.
Exactly. Basically, historically, if you look at championship and teams who do well and win promotions, they always play, apart from a couple of exceptions, they always play possession-based hybrid pressing styles.
Okay.
They do rotate players, and they rotate tactically, and they rotate the locations of overloads on the pitch. Because if you're trying to create a overload in the same area of the pitch, you get figured out. Most of all, successful teams in the championship have intelligent, adjustable, and variable pressing triggers.
Okay.
Which Wrexham, remember how I said a few times before, our players are proportionally dispositioned wrong on the pitch. The way they are, they don't know where everybody else is in phases of the movement. That is a foundation for an intelligent press. If you are proportionally positioned incorrectly on the pitch, you cannot. You physically, you have to teleport yourself around the pitch instead of running. You cannot commit to an intelligent pressing trigger. So what we are talking about right now, that kind of level of conversation, and again, I'm dumbing it down still. Now we're just touching on tactics. So
well, even as
we're gonna.
I realize that I've never fucking seen it, because the only football I watch is Wrexham and sometimes Wales. So in my mind, as I'm seeing, random players implementing the movements that you're talking about, I recognize that I've apparently only really seen it in my imagination, because we don't do that. But I'm going to see other teams do it, apparently, this season against us.
You will. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be really good to watch. There will be some really good quality football. Scott gave a very good example. Best O'Connell pass was his 40-yarder against Notts County, which he ran on to set up a goal, literally passed to himself. I remember that. You know why he managed to pass to himself? Because the opposition, and you remember how Notts County were playing. They were playing short pass, positive lateral movement. They were using half spaces. They would never degrade themselves to hoofball. They were playing good combinational football. They did not fucking expect.
They were doing it right.
They did not expect that. They were like, "What the fuck is this?
What are these crazy guys doing?"
They literally they couldn't fathom the possibility of that level of
that
play.
choice.
I know it sounds cruel, but that's exactly what happened.
But also when you think the level of shock, I think you're doing a great job of conveying the mindset of how, you've used it over and over, the term disruptive, of how disruptive and how effective disruptive football can be in certain circumstances. And that would have been a classic, beautiful one. Also, like looking at what level we were at and what the speed of the other players. So not only were they playing the right kind of football, but how fast were they to adjust to recognizing that while their minds were blown, right? So it's not like they were prem players, in a lucky circumstance. There's no way that he's going to get to that ball before, a higher caliber opposition player in a different scenario. But yeah, that I think is probably the best example there could be of the merits of what disruptive play can do. But you don't get a shock and awe reaction if you're doing it 40, 60, 100 times a game.
Yes, you don't. And it's you will get used to it. As weird as it sounds, you will get used to it. but I guess to sum it all up, because we're going on to 1 hour and 20 minutes, even though I can talk about it for hours and there is a lot more I can say, but when this kind of parky ball can work, because we're gonna have to make it work this season, right? So it's gonna have to happen. And just like I said, whatever it takes to survive, just don't get relegated. That's literally, because we don't want to jump on that new manager carousel, because that can lead to if we're going to change the manager, it should be done in an organized manner where a new coach can bring his players and start developing his style. And we have the biggest damage, what you were asking before, than previous seasons. It's not having the easy leagues. No, we have missed the opportunity to build systems, to actually create the basis. So that's what your time in lower leagues are for. When you are planning to go up through the leagues, you use that time, you create a core of the team, both managerial and other professionals who work in any coaching or teaching capacity, and player who learn, not even exaggerating, dozens of operational and tactical systems, which are very complex.
You don't invade a country by throwing together a militia. You don't do that. You start with your militia. You start to create a full-time professional army. You train and bring in generations of standards to then, affect whatever your goals and stuff are. So it is not an overnight thing. And to take any step of that process out compromises the entire entity.
Exactly.
So that's why basic training exists, and then advanced training,
and then you go into your you do your basic training, or the basic for officers is your basic course. You go through academy. Then you go into your core training, and then after your core training, you have other specialty courses, and you keep on building all the time. So that's when you use that time. We didn't do that. We did not do that. So it's just going to be. It's going to be what it's going to be. All right. So, but the only way it can work is. It can be not. It's not even the correct term. The only way it can be short-term effective.
Okay.
If the conditions, certain conditions are met.
Okay.
You have a dominant aerial forward target man. That's why Parkinson is hell bent on getting that Kiefer.
So a younger.
7 feet tall Palma, better Palma, effectively.
Better Palma.
You need it. You need it.
Stephen Fletcher. Come on now.
No. Stephen Fletcher has brains. It's in a good way. He is a player who's capable of doing non-standard moves and making non-standard decisions. He needs a better Palma, and that's why he's fighting for that. I forgot the name of that guy, Kiefer, something Kiefer.
Yeah, the one with two F's. The Kiefer with two F's.
Something like that. Yeah. On top of that, you got to specialize in a second ball setup. So you have to create overloads closer to the opposition box, and you have to win second balls. Which more? Yes, more. Thank you, Scott. More. So that's why he wants him, because without that guy, no chance, zero chance. He will need to find another one real soon. He will bring a 40-year-old retired 8-foot striker from any kind of league just to plonk him right there on the edge of the box, because that's all we're going to be doing all seasons. The ball's going to be sent to that guy, and then the rest of the team will be breaking their legs, literally trying to win the second ball.
To be faster in order to do these overloads that you're talking about, they will have to be faster. So I guess that's why we're seeing faster players.
So they will be sacrificing their lives to win the second ball. Okay, that's condition number 2.
And then by January, we'll be in desperate need of replacements.
Yep. Good. You see, even the person with very minimum football experience is grasping onto the
Well, I mean,
basic setup of what's going to
so
happen.
when you said short term, sustainability of this as opposed to it working, is if they can hang on to that formula till January, when we can get replacements to do it again for a second half of a season.
Exactly. But that's not it. Wait, there is more.
Oh
And
no.
the next step to that is you have to effectively compress the entire football field, the entire pitch, into the areas of scraps. Remember how I said we bypass the midfield and
Mhm.
then we force the turnover. So we need to fight in certain areas of the pitch where we are comfortable creating overloads. And that is usually center when we are defending. Because the only way we attack is through the flanks. Take the ball up the flank, cross. Take the ball up the flank, cross. If we can't take the ball up the flank, we just hoof. We hoof and fight for the ball in the center. So we have to isolate the pitch into little areas of where we're literally going to be holding little wrestling matches with other players.
Well, you say wrestling matches, but what I'm seeing is a boxing ring, because Naka has spent a lot of time in the boxing the last couple seasons. So, hey, pretty light on his feet.
If you compare it to boxing match, and I did make those comparisons a lot last year. The only way you can compare it to boxing match if your opponent is lighter than you, and you manage to get those couple of lightweights fighting you at the same time. So they overcommit numerically, freeing the space behind. That's why second ball is important there, because it has to fall in the free space. So you have to be bigger, stronger, and you have to get a couple of those lightweights fighting you at the same time. That's so. But even with these conditions that I have described, even if that works, the longevity, predictability, and the stability of that concoction, they are poor.
Mm-hmm.
That's
as we
why
have injuries and the variables of who's playing what, as the other teams, as we go through the season, all gets to watch the videos and analyze it ahead of time and be like, you know what? They go here. So let's make a plan for when they go there. And if we don't have another plan, we know they're going to hoof it or do whatever. So if we implement this with true dedication and meaning, it still doesn't compensate to have this, I would say now, will be a 2-trick pony. Okay. From hoof it. Does not offset the level of what's apparently going to be universal system play at a higher quality than what we had against us in League One. Like, we're a Swiss Army knife with 2 parts potentially now with your plan.
Both of those parts are blunt as well. So you have
that,
to.
You know what? That causes pain. You needed to do something. Everything you needed to do will be more painful than if it was sharp.
You need more force. You need more force. So the only way you
physics can. In. Football and physics. Everything really is football.
So, yeah. Well, the straight north-south linear football is technically dangerous. Inherently technically dangerous. To be honest, I can't even call it, and people who understand a little bit about football, vertical systems nowadays are not even called systems. They are what's called a structural compounds.
Okay.
Sorry, structural constructs. They are called.
Oh.
So
okay.
It's a lineup. It's a seating plan of, like, when you walk into the classroom, you look at the seating plan and everybody needs to sit. Like, that's what they are. It's because vertical football does not incorporate use of the spaces, half spaces, and your full range of motion. Effectively, range of motion, not your arms and legs, but the range of motion on the pitch. Right. So it's the opposite of total football. Again, to simplify it. Further on, you will be exposed to loss of control, both of the ball and control of the game. You will be very predictable, and your outcomes will be relatively low ceiling unless you provide for continuous upgrade of superior players. But even with good players, if that system that it doesn't suit the profile of that player specifically,
which we've
you
seen
will-
some folks slotted into positions that aren't their natural inclination and not causing problems, or at least
Exactly.
not being at the level that they would if they were in a more natural scenario.
Yep. People will underperform. If they don't like that style, they will underperform. Even though a lot of people will praise them for playing well. In fact, remember how I said the sum of the players on the team needs to be greater
Mm-hmm.
than it physically is.
Mm-hmm.
And it never is. It never is when you do that. They will underperform.
Well, isn't that inherent when I think about if you don't give Jay Rodriguez the kind of service that he needs to maximize
Oh man,
his potential?
his face. When I remember when you like just his face when he was forced to play that, and like I just look at his face and I'm
It
like,
looks
oh
a
my
little
God,
tragic. Like I have to wonder at his like decision making, but whatever. But and also for him to be hung out to dry so much as though he were not a capable player, because the environment he found himself in wasn't conducive to, his more natural inclination with his talent. I felt was unfair and unfortunate. But
and now
we'll
I think last I read he's got. That's just you can't even freaking you can't come up with it. He's got stress fractures. He played
No.
on the team for less than half a season, and he's now in walking. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I read it somewhere that he was just diagnosed with stress fractures.
Do you
So
think that might have been off-season
he
prep? Because
played.
we know
He,
Ibaka was going crazy to
he
get ready
played.
for this season.
I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure he played his entire career in Championship and Premier League. He plays for half a year this thing, and now he's got stress fractures.
No, like what's I can't think about stress fractures without thinking about my mom.
Scott is saying correct. I experienced stress fractures in the army, and I know a lot of guys
And
who
that's where I was getting
experienced
to.
them.
So my mom, at the time, you had to PT in your duty boots, and the duty boots were issued as opposed to you necessarily having the freedom to purchase a style. And she had very, not so much fun, but very thin, she was a woman. There were a lot of aspects in the 70s and 80s of military requirements that didn't really take into consideration differences in physique, much less between the two genders. And her on crutches when we were living on basically a cliff in New York in the winter. And I was, a kindergartner, and all because she had broken her foot being compelled to PT in boots as opposed to sneakers or even a boot that was beneficial to her. Just like the preventability of it is just, and she had problems, the rest of her life with that foot, as a result of that particular injury. But man.
And so Scott is saying, you see his comments, right? So, correct?
Yeah, let me make it
It
bigger.
was stress fractures, and I do have concerns about the medical department. There was Mullins back to Scott, brother. It's not the medical department; it's what we do on the pitch. It's like I had a spinal fusion a year ago. I know exactly what Mullen went through. He didn't have a spinal fusion, but he had from my understanding, and I inadvertently I became a spinal surgeon specialist because I've been suffering from bulging discs and paralyzed legs for 7 years, and had to serve and had to do a lot of crazy things when I couldn't even get up in the morning and I had to crawl out of my sleeping bag. So I know exactly what he's going through and what he went through, and it's not the medical department. Medical department are busting their asses to fix them, but you when you break people, like it's people
like
always say like
unit.
it's people say like, well, football it's a contact sport. Like I played fucking hockey, I boxed all my life, I did I'm doing judo a lot now, thank God. My back is getting better, so I actually got back. I want to finally get to my black belt. It's I know what it's like to get hurt, and I'm not the toughest guy in the world. Like I like sports in general, but
you're a freak, dude. Like,
I'm not a freak. I'm
are no way normal. You are on no scale
but
normal.
You play. There are a lot more there are a lot more danger in other sports than it is in football quite often.
You
But
mean like from an injury rate
from an
standpoint,
injury
or and
base,
severity of the injury?
exactly. The
Okay.
number of casualties and the type, not necessarily even the number can be average, but the type of the injuries that players are picking up, that's a telltale. So really, the people of Wrexham should go to the medical department of the football club and bring them boxes of beers and bottles of whiskey or whatever they want, because they are busting their asses keeping these
Keeping
guys
them taped
active.
together.
Yes. So the people who should be asked questions are at the helm, and you should ask them as like, hey guys, we're not in 1980s anymore. We
And
have
something you've said consistently over the seasons about, the trickle down of the decision making impacting every aspect. And we keep having reinforcement of the level of influence that Parky's decision making has on the operation as a whole, beyond the culture of the locker room or the pitch, within the club, to maybe not feeling comfortable to offer counter perspectives or suggestions, because
yeah.
the name of the game is compliance.
Mhm. Well, let's not like we had a very good conversation the other day about a few things with regards to the football club, but I don't think we should be like I see people now joining and leaving because they expect me to go, yay, new signing, yay, we're gonna win, yay, so awesome.
That's,
Fuck
to
preseason
be
games
fair,
results don't matter. Like, and they
to be
see me
fair,
like
they may be strangers that, were on YouTube somewhere in Thailand, and we're like, what is this? I don't really know what's going on here, and bail.
no,
Like,
I
people make
can this probably
decisions very quickly.
yeah, they right now people want me to go like, oh my god, it's gonna be amazing, it's so awesome, like
Anybody
and
that would expect that of you clearly
well,
isn't informed
we
enough.
signed some incredible players. We literally did. Like
Sure.
honestly, jokes aside, we signed some great players for this level. Like
Hmm.
they are not going to single-handedly, you know,
They can't do it
win
all.
everything. Yeah, but yeah, still, very. What we have to understand, the players that came in, they are by no means indicators of anything new. They are one for one a replacement of the previous personnel.
Upgraded versions.
Yes, yes. Are players afraid to approach the med staff for fear of being dumped? Yes. Thank you, Scott. Thank God. I sometimes I think I'm going crazy. Thank you. This is man. It's amazing. What remember I spoke about
Told
Hayden? How
you.
many times?
I
How
told you
many
that if
times?
if you, if you say it, they will come. Like, there will be an audience that your message resonates with when you speak,
How
sense. If
how many
you're
times
not
I've
as
spoken
alone as
about?
you thought you were.
Yeah. How many times I've spoken about Hayden? Remember I said like, why don't they ask that guy? Remember me and you were talking about it
Well, he
online and
was
offline.
disappeared. He was disappeared away.
He probably was killed behind a building and dumped in the ditch somewhere. Like just in Park You We Trust. It's our players afraid to approach the med staff for fear of being dumped. Hayden springs to mind. I think Mullen was playing through an injury. Yes,
Mhm.
short and clear. Yes, we have a
At least
dictatorship
those
going
situations
on.
are indications of that environment. Like, obviously we're not there and we can't see what, but these are red flags of examples that are indicative
Which
of a
I've been
chronic problem.
waving
Oh
for
yes,
3 years. Like,
100%. 100%.
and the
That
reason
there's no
why
question.
yeah, yeah, I've experienced that. I played football. I played other sports on decent level. The reason why I'm saying that is because I have been there. I have seen that, and that
And
is
you have
not.
concerns because
Yeah,
it's preventable. And it can be catastrophic to someone's life story and their aspirations as a professional within a field that they've worked really hard to be able to enter, to be able to sustain. So I think there's a lot of compassion and empathy on your part that makes you give a damn. I mean, it's real easy to just say, oh, this is stupid, or this that doesn't matter, or if you only are in it for wins versus losses and success, to be a fair weather kind of fan. But you are emotionally invested in not just the team but the players and the culture that new incoming players would experience, or the aftercare for those who depart. What are their options? What potential do they have to be placed with another team after leaving this club? So I think that for your experience from being a coach, from being a player, gives you this great perspective on different sides of the table, but also, is part of what causes you worry, is because you care. If you didn't care, and again, I think that comes from some empathy, and how bad things can end up that don't have to be that way. There are some things in life that simply cannot be predicted or prepared for, but this is not one of those cases. And you have all over the world is football, and it has so much history. And I think that your frustrations come from seeing preventable catastrophe, pain, or loss in an entity where it could have been otherwise and could be sustained longer term for the future. So I'm sure it's extremely frustrating for you, because the change that needs to happen to bring about what you feel is the healthiest version of sustainability for the club is going to take time. And we're going to have injuries along the wayside. We're going to have, relationships, business or otherwise, that are broken in the course to have the circumstances to create the kind of change you're talking about, barring Parky choosing to evolve and implement this himself, is going to be painful. But,
it's
when you care about something, you don't just walk away because it's painful and doesn't do what you want.
But that recently through WhatsApp, I sent you a video of that clip from, to which you responded in the facepalm.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to think a step ahead, just a little bit deeper to understand exactly what you're hearing, to understand exactly what's going on. And where are the people who actually need to be interviewed about things like, where is Hayden, where is Mullen, where is Marriott, where is Bolton, where is this, and like there is like why is
well, and then we get into what we've touched on before, like, are there NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, that come as a part of being in our club versus the culture?
Gotta be, but you have to be a bit more mature than a 12-year-old boy or girl. You have to be like, especially
one would hope. But we're not dealing with folks who've necessarily had the same life experiences that you and I have been able to enjoy, or the perspectives. And especially when you have a narrower life path that you have devoted so much of your time and energy to, I can see why your confidence and decision making that deviate from that path could be extremely intimidating, and you might farm out for people that you trust to aid you in making decisions. I mean, let's not forget the Flat Earth AAA video that I think illustrated well the gaps that happen in academy learning when you go into the pro system. So I don't hold that against them. But as you said, like, wow, we're an hour and 43 minutes in. And it could go on forever.
Scott, Jordan Davis, absolutely. Jake Hyde, absolutely. And there is more. Yes, we've been going for a while now, but I think if I'm just gonna check with my wife if she will allow me to maybe go for another hour after we've done here, because there's a lot of things I would like to clear out when it comes to just. I'm not even talking about deep tactics talk. I just want to give people an example of what tactics actually is, just the very bottom, but the actual talking tactics, not confusing formation and systems. Okay, because
I would love for you to also touch on operational, because I think, like, as you said, it's missing, but also people's understanding, if they haven't gone through a military experience, don't necessarily, like, for me, it was always, well, what the hell is operational then? If tactics is this and strategy is that, then is it more than just the in between? If you're going to touch on that verbiage, I think it's important to hit the other two, because especially operational is missed a lot for, I think, appreciation.
Yes, no, I
So,
will absolutely.
are you ready for some Everything is Football?
Yes, yes,
And then
please.
we
Yeah.
can
Uh,
wind it up. Wind it up. I meant wind
uh,
it down. Not wind it up. Wind it down.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, there is quite a few, but to be frank, that isn't a Wrexham thing. It's across all teams and sports. Yes, absolutely. Um, Look, there are a lot of practices. Some of them are well set and people repeat them. There are clubs which dare to be different. And like I said to Ruby the other day, is will you trust your leader, your one up, your two up, be you in the military, in the corporate world, in the police, in the firefighting? Will you trust a leader that in 3 or 4 years had never said, all right, guys, this is my fault. This one is on me.
Accountability.
That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Okay, everything is
All
football.
right,
Let's go.
folks. We're going to wrap this up with Everything is Football. If this is your first time joining us and are not familiar, Everything is Football is a game in which I present Ivan with a random object. He does not have a heads up about what the object will be, but given how broad his knowledge of football is and my joy in giving him a challenge, he tries to tell us what this object is and how it can relate to football. So each episode, I present 3 random items, and none of the answers yet have been disappointing. Most of them have been surprising. All have been enlightening. So we're going to start off today. Are you ready for item number 1?
Let's go.
Okay. Item number 1 is, try to make it easy, a box of matches or a match pack. What do I even call this?
You know what I'm gonna
Pack
say,
of
right?
matches. So I don't know what you're going to say. I'm too busy trying to remember what pack of matches. What do we even call this? Anyway, so it's an
They are.
envelope with
That's your
matches in it.
football. That's your football players.
Oh God. Oh God. Well, I'm glad I didn't
That
burn any then.
that's your every professional athlete pretty much. Your life of a professional athlete, be it football player, right? But it's a short one. Burn bright and make sure that for that short time of burn, you set a fire that will last for a while and will keep your friends and family happy and warm. Same as for the military.
I guess
You're a
in that,
match.
yeah, it could be a lot of applications, but no, I did not know that's where you were going to go. I never do, which is part of why I continue to reach further and further afield. All right, we are on to item number 2. This one might take a little bit of explanation because it doesn't look typical. So what I have here, you might, recognize from the iconic box, is a Barbie doll. Now, this Barbie is not blonde-haired and blue-eyed in some skimpy outfit because this is one of their many limited edition commemorative dolls. This one happens to be one of Wilma Mankiller, who was the modern era female chief of the Cherokee Nation. So
Yeah.
the Cherokee Nation has had, historical chiefs, peacetime and wartime, and other things like that. It's a matrilineal, matrilocal, originally native group, but this was a commemorative available Barbie doll. I don't have a normal one handy or more standard, so this is the one I grabbed. But interpret this how you wish. I'm presenting it as a Barbie. I'm just explaining why it doesn't look like the one people would most often think of. So she's got dark hair. She has darker complected and has on a turquoise outfit that is traditional for Cherokee Nation in that she has a ribbon skirt on. It is not unique only to Cherokee Nation as a form of clothing. The men often have ribbon shirts, but this is all obviously post-colonial interpretations of clothes of what we wear.
Very
But anyway,
yes, very beautiful and unique doll. Actually,
thank you. Just a
it's
very
quite
interesting
cool.
story. If anybody wanted to look it up, my understanding was her original surname would have been within the family Wilma White Man Killer, but I don't have that confirmed personally.
Well,
But yeah,
yes,
interesting read. Significant lady. How is a Barbie or a female Cherokee chief
I
football?
actually I think that what you described, the differences between the standard Barbie and this Barbie, I think what it made me think of is that maybe they, with the modern day push towards female girls football, maybe they should create a lineup of dolls, but not that, because I think there is a Barbie that playing football has got pink boots and a pink ball, and yeah, but
Ah,
make them look like real female football players,
oh,
and
I
it's,
I would I would buy a Wales Barbie. Like I would that had the kit or things like that. And imagine, look what people do now just to have the kit themselves. You sell the Barbie with it every season for a second, third kit. Oh man, somebody's missing
yeah,
out on a real
yeah,
moneymaker.
I think it will be that can be connected to footballers. That's a very good
Fantastic.
idea for somebody. Yeah.
Well, and we see nowadays, as far as representation and gendered toys, there are more dolls that have articulating joints. So, like, even if you had one that could have not just only a typical football boot, but that could maybe be positioned in a way to reenact plays that had happened on the
Yeah.
pitch, would be
Yeah.
very, very cool. So, okay,
Absolutely.
well, thank you, Ivan. That was
That
Barbie is
that was
football.
really good.
All right.
Yeah.
This one might take me just a second to make sure I get it.
Okay.
I
Wow.
don't
All
know if
right.
the parts are I don't know what's still attached or not. Okay, let's see. Oh shoot. What's oh, I forgot I still had that. All right. Here it is. Sorry for the narrative.
No, no
Oh,
problem.
the chains are still on. Okay. Okay. All right,
That's
Ivan.
something.
Item
Okay.
number 3 is a cuckoo clock. I'm holding a brown Germanic wooden cuckoo clock that has a couple of deer in the foreground and a couple of pine trees. And then there's a little green door at the top of the little house, which contains a bird. It is not running, so it will not be cuckooing. And probably the time isn't accurate. So, Ivan, how is football like a cuckoo clock?
Um, I think I
Sorry,
have
this
to.
is one of your longer pauses that you ever had.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to. I'm trying to remember when the clock was invented,
Oh,
and
Jesus, I don't know.
I don't remember exactly, but it would be a few hundred years old now. The
Been a
concept.
while.
I think it's a lot like football because the idea of the game of football is very old,
Mm.
and the idea of the cuckoo clock is very old, and it's been portrayed through numerous folklore masterpieces and simple stories and heritage, same as football. But by this day, the entity is developing and taking modern shapes, as well as the eternal and everlasting thing like a clock
Mm.
with an object, with a bird or anything else that comes out of it. So I think those two things kind of develop and grow and exist in parallel lanes, and they both
Interesting.
this and they both stay active and actual through the
Mhm.
centuries.
I
I
like
think
that. The
that's
idea of football being, an entity being essentially timeless and just being expanded upon or modified, but it is still football. It is still
well,
time. And in the future, what it will look like versus, today,
yeah, yeah,
evolutionary.
yeah. Because football is effectively the reason why it's the most popular game on the planet is because you only need a ball and you have yourself a game.
Accessibility.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
remember as
it
a
doesn't.
kid
Yeah,
seeing it in Panama when I would drive. Well, the bus would take us to through the city to school, and I would see kids who were impoverished. I didn't fully grasp it at the time as a kid, but playing on dirt on a football field, I remember being resentful. Why were those kids not going to school and I had to? But yes, in dirt, some of them without a
yeah,
full set of clothes on,
yeah,
playing football and with nothing else. So yeah, the
yeah,
universality of it is very, very true. Well,
yeah.
folks, that has been Everything is Football for today's episode. Thank you very much, Ivan, for
Thank
participating.
you.
Those were insightful. I'll have some more the next time we meet, but I think an Ivanologue with some basic terminology or points that you think we should look out for in the coming season, or even a series of those things, would be helpful as we face this new challenge, this new environment. There are going to be a lot of firsts, especially for new fans like myself, that we see Wrexham. Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Yeah. Small dog with big things to say.
Good.
As we move forward. Yeah. I closed the shade on her window, so I don't know what that was about. She likes to look into the other yards.
I'm looking forward to our next episode after the game, and I wanted to thank Scott for being very active and supportive. And it's
Thank
great.
you,
And
Scott.
I don't know how how to express my gratitude. Thank you so much. It's amazing to have somebody who actually listens and not judges. And please, let your friends and family know. And if they come with open minds, I'm always me and you together, Ruby. We're always welcome people to take part in our conversation.
Of course, and if it's not their cup of tea, perfectly fine.
Yep.
What is it? I'd rather be someone's shot of tequila than their cup of tea anyway. So
we're trying to talk sense. I don't want to say go a little bit deeper, because depth is a relative term, but we're not, by no means, we're just trying to stay pragmatic.
It's certainly an atypical lens through which to view the club, but that also touches on broader themes in the world. So we're not really restricted in the same ways that folks with a much more structured and goal-driven kind of platform or methodology to their presentation which is great for content, and especially educating it with high quality products and content out there, but is not what we are, and what we are from episode to episode can change. But we're also open to input, and want to remind folks that if you have a question about something you heard on this episode or some other episode that especially Ivan has shared, or if you want clarity, as I often ask for in the episode, please feel free to submit a question in the comments here or on our Instagram, which is iWords and Upwards, and we will get to that question and answer it on the next podcast. So please feel free. We are happy to have this be an inclusive environment. I'm certainly here because I have learned a lot from my friendship with Ivan, and I think that he has great talent and potential to break down some concepts that certainly evade me, or I've never even been introduced to within the world of this particular sport. So please don't be shy. They don't have to be strictly related to football. You might want to ask more about him playing on broken ankles and playing hockey, or about New Zealand. You are welcome to ask questions, and we will do our best to have them answered. So thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you. And again, Scott, of course, as ever. Yeah. What, you've got anything else, Ivan?
Yep. No, thank you. You highlighted everything, and we're building that hybrid of real life sports experiences, bringing it into one, and highlighting certain aspects to emphasize certain points when we need to do that. And I thank you, Scott. I would say you're relevantly random in a good way. I need to really
relevantly random. I like that.
I need to think about this. That's a good way. Like, I actually need to sort of dwell on that for a while. I really like that phrase, that sentence.
Yes. Coined. Well, be sure to credit him. Because I think a lot of what we do is value-based, what we think is important in life, in the world, and that comes into our discussions, which we used to just kind of have these discussions on the phone. And the idea of sharing them and including other folks in the learning is something I'm really glad that you decided to do.
I think when we come up with our merch for iWords and Upwards, this will be on a shirt, irrelevantly random. We will, it's, Scott, thank you very much. This is genius,
On the
actually.
very tiny shirts, on the teeny tiny shirts.
I will get a tattoo on
Stay
my butt.
tuned. Stay
It
tuned
will
for
be
the summertime.
on this one. It will be relevantly. On this one,
Oh
it will
God!
be
Oh God!
random.
Yeah. Okay. So when we get to 1,000 subscribers, Ivan will get it tattooed on his arm. Good grief!
Yeah.
I will not. I will not. I will not put forth a tattooing challenge. But
No,
okay. Well,
but
and
look,
also, if you're new and hung out this long, normally the podcast doesn't run for 2 hours, but you're welcome to check out any of the previous content. And we did some catching up today and a lot of review of a previous episode that was kind of unique. So I think that contributed a bit to the length.
I really enjoyed it. This did not feel like 2 hours. It actually
Well, of course
flew
not,
by.
not to us.
Yeah.
But to think of, it's hard to think about someone else listening to our conversations other than me bringing up points that people might not understand the verbiage or something like that. Like I kept saying sponges and you were saying bullet catchers, and here I had avoided saying bullet sponges, but it's a different term here than there. So there are little things, but
Alex is here. Ruby, you were talking about Alex.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's great to see you guys.
Big fan, Alex.
And talk critical about sports instead of shows that keep fluffing up topics. All the best, guys. Great show today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alex.
Can't wait for him to come back. You guys did great together.
Yeah, no, we will do another one. We're in a bit of a pickle right now with we have a couple of restricting life circumstances happening right now.
How dare you? How
I know. It'll be all right.
Going on.
yeah. We'll figure it out. But look, prediction for the first game, it will be a loss. Most likely, if we lose by less than 3 goals, it's a success.
Okay.
Very tough opponent. But that's my
Are we gonna see sexy football from our opponents? Are they a sexy football team?
First game of the season, it's not going to be sexy, I don't think, but it will be aggressive. It will be tight. They will be very well drilled positionally. So they will definitely be dominating the possession and literally giving us a hard time all over the pitch, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will be a huge test. But
do you think there's any doubt that Maka will be coming out as the captain for the first match?
Saints, Alex, first game is against Southampton Saints. He will be captaining. I think that the first game will see more of the old guard than literally the second game. So he will give. Well, I hope he will give the old boys a chance to play on that level. Mm-hmm. But we spend so much money on the new players, then to be honest,
the old boys, like even Palmer.
No.
I knew what I was doing. And I'm just being hateful.
No.
I mean, like, I could pay for my transmission with like 5 Ollie Palmer sweatshirts. Or what's it?
One on the pen. One on the pen.
Before the tariffs. All right. Well, thank you so much, folks, for joining us. Is there not the free Alex?
Trigger word.
But don't say the P word.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Love you all.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. End stream.